Python is probably the go-to language if you have to write some quick scripts or do some data visualization or even train some models. However, I feel like oftentimes that Python has kind of developed into this thing that it was never meant to be. And you kind of feel it with all of the recent changes onto it, or also the ecosystem trying to basically fix it. As an example, UV trying to fix pip in a way, for dependency management, or Python, where you can actually run a C code inside Python itself, or even things like Fast API to make, really good servers or really fast servers out of it. And specifically on that last point, I personally really dislike writing servers in Python, especially with bigger applications. Like the bigger your project becomes with Python, I feel like the messier it becomes, and it just doesn't work for me oftentimes. And so a couple of weeks ago, I thought to myself, what if I could just try to fix the problems I have with Python while still keeping the things I really like? And so I did something that I personally wanted to do for a long time, and I guess a lot of us developers have this on their, developer bucket list or whatever we can call it. And I created my own programming language. So here's the plan. I want to define my own language and then transpile it back into Python code. And this way I can actually still have my language, my syntax and everything that I want, but still, use the Python ecosystem. So the first thing that we have to do for that is to define a grammar file. Then we use a tool called Pagan, and please don't search that on Google, which converts our grammar into a parser script. This parser can actually then parse pure text files and then out of it make an abstract syntax tree. This tree is basically your entire code in the file in a tree format, which we then can lower back into Python code. Then once it's a Python script again, we can finally execute it. So with this going, we can now think about the syntax that we actually want, because that's what we need to put into the grammar file and into the lowering procedure. Now, I've been personally coding a lot more and more with LLMs lately, like Codex, Claude Code, or Open Code, and all these similar ones, right? It really intrigued me to try to see if I can design a language which is not only good for us humans, but also, better for LLMs to predict in theory, and this comes like, I don't have a computer science background, so my background is in AI itself. So I thought why not? I mean, it's just an experiment. I doubt somebody would ever actually use my language, but yeah. And while the real competitive advantage for a language in an LLM is just how much more high quality training data of your programming language is inside the weights of an LLM, I thought it could still be really interesting to design a language around LLM productivity. So this is what I came up with, where I thought this could make a language good for AI. First of all, static typing. It needs to be clear what something is and what we expect as a result. Having a robust typing system helps maintain larger code bases, while additionally is also just great documentation, honestly. So the way I did it is, if you actually type in my language, this would then be transpiled back into Python code with the type hints in it too. Or also with added Pydantic classes already implemented out of the go. So for this, I added two new data types too, records and enums. With records, you can think of them like, if you come from the TypeScript world, like an interface or something similar, right? It basically just is there to define the data that you want. What's also really cool with this transpiling code is I managed to also make a matrix data type, which actually uses NumPy under the hood. So everything's optimized if you use a matrix data type in my language, which is really, really cool, I feel like. The next thing is to make the language boring and opinionated. In Python right now, there are 10 ways to do the same line of code, basically, in so many cases. I mean, it's really exhausting, People like to call this Pythonic, but honestly, for me, it's just difficult to read, oftentimes. So I enforce an opinionated language design, also with a standardized formatter. And this is also really, really important, because if there's only one way to write the same language, it becomes a lot easier to predict for the LLM too. This means that the same semantic meaning will always have the same or very, very similar tokens and embeddings used to express it. Therefore, the LLM doesn't need to learn a bigger amount of syntax, with the same meaning, basically, Like a for loop should always be the same and not like in Python where you have 3 different types to, write the same for loop. Next, we also need to think about errors, specifically to make them explainable. Because I feel like Python really lacks good errors right now. And good errors are not only important for us humans, but also as an efficient feedback loop for LLMs themselves. Lastly, from the syntax side itself, is token efficiency. This itself was, not my main focus, and it was just basically a small experiment. But I didn't actually realize how token inefficient modern programming languages are. As part of this, I actually analyzed the token usage, specific Python syntax, and I tried to actually optimize it. So, to see how I can write this line of code in a more token efficient way. And this includes removing some unnecessary commas, or even just, for instance, I redesigned the imports. And now, with the core language and ideas behind it defined and basically designed, which was a lot more difficult than I thought. I took multiple programming languages and I compared them all, and I saw what I liked from this language, what I didn't like from that, and all of that. But yeah, now it's actually time to define the tools we actually use to code in our language. And the first thing that I needed was an LSP. Now, here's the thing. How editors or IDEs actually used to understand languages before is that every single editor you can think of, your VS Code, Emacs, I don't know, IntelliJ and all of that, they had their own plugins defined so that it can actually understand the language. However, as you can imagine, there are 2 problems with this. The first of all is you have to maintain a bunch of different code bases for that, if you have your own language. And then second of all, if you make an editor, then no language is supported by default, right? So with that, some really, really great people, they created something called the LSP, which is the Language Server Protocol, I think, or something. I think it's called Language Server Protocol. But yeah, it's like the standardized protocol, which basically creates a RPC server, allowing all editors to basically understand semantically the language that you created. So I created my own, and I did so for Vim and NeoVim, not because I particularly am good in Vim. I mean, you would probably cringe when you see me code in Vim, but it's because it's just the easiest to do. I didn't want to bother with creating a VS Code plugin or, Z or IntelliJ or something like that. And Vim was just the easiest to do for this small project right now. Okay, ready to see something really cool? Syntax on. Here's our syntax highlighting. Oh, this is so cool. My language has some syntax highlighting now. Wow. Oh, wow. That's really cool. Okay, let's continue now from this. The second thing from tooling that I really, really wanted to do is actually a unified project manager. So right now you have so many tools and a bunch of different environments, right? You have UV, Conda, pip, I don't know, pipx, I think that's a different one. Then there's also poetry and all these sorts of things, right? And I just wanted one opinionated path to do so. Something similar to, I wanted to say something similar to NPM, but then I noticed there's also PNPM and Yarn and Bun and all of that. And Dino, does that count as a different package manager? I'm not totally sure. But they do actually work kind of the same, this ecosystem, right? Where you have one way to define the project, which is in the, package.json, and then you have the node modules where everything is installed. And this is also where an important part comes in, and that is backwards compatibility. You see, my language, the way I defined it, is not a superset of Python, for instance, when you have TypeScript, every JavaScript code is basically still valid TypeScript code. But for me, it's not the same, because Python code is not valid, code for me. So I actually made something like more of an accent of Python, if you can see it like this. So the way that I actually fixed this problem is I made it that you can still add Python packages. However, you need to import them with PyImport. And honestly, I really don't like this solution, and this actually had a lot of errors too. So this is definitely, I think, the biggest thing that I can rethink of when doing my language. But yeah, how this works under the hood basically is you get a project.toml and you can define there, like your entry point and all of that. And once you actually build the project, what happens is that your code and all of the Python packages that you added will be actually converted into a UV project with the Python packages you added, and all your code basically transpiled back into Python. Before we actually publish the language and try it out, a last big thing that we need to do is branding. So I had to actually think of a nice name for the language and create a logo and some docs and even a mascot, because every good language has a really nice mascot. Shout out to C++. C++ low-key has the best mascot out of all of them. For the language name, I basically wanted something similar to what TypeScript is to JavaScript. So I first thought about Typethon, but that was already taken. So my next instinct was to take Tython, but this seemed to be some sort of planet in Star Wars. I'm not really a Star Wars fan, but you know what? Why not? I then went with the name Tython because, yeah, why not? I guess it's a Star Wars themed language now. But yeah, for the docs itself, I used mkdocs for the first time, and honestly, I was really surprised on how nice mkdocs is as a solution. You literally just have to have a couple of markdown files, and that's kind of it, and you get like search functionality and a beautiful interface and all of that. So very, very happy with mkdocs. For the logo, I just kept it very, very simple. And then lastly, for the mascot, here I spent a far more time than I want to admit. And I tried a lot of different things. So I looked into Tython, what this planet is supposed to be. And then I saw like some reptilian creatures, and I read like, oh yeah, they're bipedal reptiles. So I looked into what bipedal reptiles are, and it seems like it's just reptiles that walk on 2 feet. So I found that the frilled lizard, they run on 2 feet when they actually run away. It looks really, really cute when they do, or really goofy, depending on how you see it. But yeah, so I took that as my mascot. And I wanted to put it then into a cop kind of thing. But since my art skills are very bad, I actually asked, ChatGPT to generate for me the image that I had in mind. And it did so. And then I actually went and I tried to draw it on my own, and it looked absolutely horrible. So I just went with the ChatGPT image. I'm very, very sorry if you're an artist out there. Maybe you can do it instead for me. But yeah, that was the project then basically complete. And then I wanted to try to actually use it myself. I mean, what's a language if I don't even try to use it myself? So I thought about the easiest way of doing so is to create a script for OLS. OLS is basically ordinary least squares, which, I mean, it's debatable if it's a machine learning algorithm or not, because technically it's like a solved problem and it doesn't really use steps to learn. So it's just like a formula, it's just linear regression, right? To basically learn from data. It's just a couple of matrix multiplications and all of that. And yeah, so I did that. And I actually then tried to use, matplotlib, but there my whole import system and all of that, it all just then fell apart, So this is basically, I think, the biggest improvements that I can do, in the whole import system and project management system that I can do, to actually still import, other libraries to be able to, use the entire ecosystem. I think the coolest thing that I noticed was that I had no idea how to actually write my own language. So I went often back to, Codex to try to ask it how I can do this and that in my own language, which sounds, a bit embarrassing since I made it, but I mean, it makes sense. I've never coded in my own language before, so of course I forget some features or how to write this or that. Um, but yeah, finally, was it even worth it? Like, what did I learn? Honestly, this has been so far my favorite project that I've done. It really gave me a lot deeper insight on how, and appreciation, I guess, also on how languages are designed and, you know, m- made alive. And it shows me how much work is into it. I mean, I don't. And after doing this for 2 weeks, I mean, I haven't worked on it full time for 2 weeks, but doing this in my free time for 2 weeks, I noticed how difficult it is to really design a beautiful language. So seeing all of the problems with JavaScript, it really makes sense because JavaScript is just such a rushed language. But then again, I also really understood more and more what makes code nice and what makes it good to read. So I think I took a lot of the things with me from this project. And yeah, I mean, maybe if some people start using it, I can look into making it better and all of that. But besides that, it was just a really, really great learning experience. And I really encourage everyone. I mean, all the, I don't know, 60 subscribers or something like that I have, or 3 people that are going to watch this video, to try to create your own language. By the way, I don't even know if somebody would even watch until now. I mean, if you're still here, well, thank you very much. I mean, I hope I gave some benefit. If I didn't give much benefit, then you wouldn't be here at the end, I feel like. Or you just forgot to turn off the video. Either ways, thank you and bye.